What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Bad Boys 2, the sequel to the original Bad Boys movie. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith once again return, and this movie is once again directed by Michael Bay. Now, Bad Boys 2 takes place 8 years after the events of the original movie. The boys are back, and now they got to take on a new villain named Johnny Tapia, who is using his mortuary to smuggle drugs out of the country into Cuba. Alright, so that's the basic plot for Bad Boys 2. Let's talk about it. I overall thought that Bad Boys 2 is actually really good. I like Bad Boys 2 on the same vein as Bad Boys 1. This is not a movie with a strong story. This movie, like its predecessor, is built on its action and it's built on its jokes. And this movie has got a lot of it. I think from a humor wise, I think Bad Boys 2 is much more funny when compared to Bad Boys 1. I think the humor in Bad Boys 2 is just, to me, it's like a mile a minute. Particularly with the character, particularly with Martin Lawrence's character of Marcus, who is doing this whole, anger management issue type thing, which gave birth to the Woo Saw. And Martin Lawrence, all throughout the movie, he is great. Now, his character is contemplating on pretty much leaving being a cop and getting transferred because he just can't take the life anymore. And I like how his character struggles with that decision. No, does he want it? Like all throughout the movie, he keeps saying that he can't do it, he can't do it, he can't do it, he can't do it. While all the while, his sister and Mike are having a relationship as well. And the movie gets the mileage of the best friend dating the sister story. It's fine for what it is. I think Gabrielle Union did a good job in the role. Her chemistry with Will Smith is very solid. It's nothing spectacular. It's just really solid. Uh, this movie lacks some strong writing for their relationship to be anything further than solid. Because, like I said, this movie is not really It's not built on stories. This movie is built on just characters, humor, and a whole lot of action. And is this movie an action spectacle? Pretty much from the first action sequences when the boys are pretty much having a shootout with the KKK, all the way down to the end where they're having a shootout in Cuba. This movie is full of just over the top, stylized action sequences, and they're really visually fun to watch. But however, at the same time, they can kind of get a little bit fatigued because it gets to the point where every other scene is an action sequences and it's just a shootout. You know, it does start to fatigue on you a little bit, and you're kind of like, okay, can we take a break from the action and do some more character stuff because it's getting too much. Excuse me, it's getting too much. When Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are doing their whole body cop routine, cracking jokes at one another and just putting each other down, that's where the movie has a sense of fun. When the action sequences are happening, the movie is having fun, but again, the action sequences are just a little too drawn out in a lot of areas as well. And that again adds on to the fatigue. But they are well directed, and like I said, they are visually stylized, and they do look good. Michael Bay always knows how to make his action sequences feel like spectacles. Say what you want about the man, he is good at being an action director. He knows how to block and he knows how to make thrilling action sequences. Bad Boys 2 is no exception. But let's get back to what I thought are the positives and the bigger highlights of this movie. Like I said, the chemistry with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith is just as good in the first movie as it was in this movie, as it is just as good as it was in the first movie. They're fantastic with one another. Joe Pantoliano returns as Captain Howard Conrad, and he is he is great in this movie. I love the character of Captain Conrad, and I think Joe Pantoliano has a little bit more scenes in this movie as well. With pretty much my favorite scene is near the end of the movie where Mike and Marcus have to go to the captain's house to try and convince him to get an arrest warrant for Johnny Tapia, while all the while in a scene previously, Marcus accidentally drank some X, so now he's acting all spaced out and bugged out in this man's house, and it's just hilarious. It's fun stuff, and the introduction scene to the captain is hilarious as well, where he's running down a list of destroyed property and he's just like, 20 cars and a boat? How do you sink a boat? It's almost as if the way Joey Pants deliver that line, it's like these guys have just crossed the line. It's hilarious. Joe Pantoliano is an underrated gem of a comedic actor, and he is an underrated gem in both the Bad Boys movies. Uh, the villain Johnny Tapia, I thought he was fine in the role. I thought the actor played him did a good job. I think Peter Stormare, who played the Russian mobster, was a little bit better because Peter Stormare is just a better character actor, and not only that, Stormare has more of a niche of playing these mafia-like villains. But and I would have liked to see more of Peter Stormare's character as the Russian mobster because there's pretty much this little subplot where Johnny Tapia forces Peter Stormare to sell his clubs to him to use as a front for his drug ring, but all the while, Johnny Tapia killed Stormare's friend and right hand man. And I would have, and then in the end of the movie, Stormare tries to get his revenge, so he's gunned down by the cops. You know, I think that little subplot was more interesting to me than anything else that Johnny Tapia was doing in this movie. Um, I think in comparison to Fouché from the first movie, I think Johnny Tapia is a slightly more interesting character, mainly because he has a kid and he has a mother who he's taking care of. And I think that the movie does try to humanize him a little bit by adding those elements, but it doesn't really do much. We don't really get to see how he really interacts with his mother and his daughter, but besides these brief little snippets. And I think Michael Bay should have put on maybe a few more scenes with Tapia to make him more of a sympathetic villain in a way. I mean, yeah, or at least a better understanding of what he's trying to go for with Johnny Tapia as a family man and how he handles his business and how he handles his family. We get little snippets of that. Whenever his daughter's on scene, he wants her to cover her ears. He doesn't want her to hear what's going on. See, I like stuff like that. It adds a little human element to a character, to a villain. You know, you're not making them sympathetic, but we're understanding them and how they divide their work life and their home life. I would like to see just a little bit more of that with Johnny Tapia. But that's neither here nor there. They didn't go that route. It's okay. But we did get Michael Shannon in this movie, and I thought he was hilarious. So yeah, that points, I guess. So yeah, pretty much when all is said and done, like I said, I like Bad Boys 2 on the same par as a Bad Boys 1. Oh wait, before I wrap it up, probably the funniest scene in this movie is where Mike and Marcus pretty much just intimidate this kid called Reggie who is going to take Marcus's daughter out on a date, and these two just bully this poor kid, and it's probably one of the most funniest scenes in the movie, with the other funny scene in the movie being this scene at this electronics store, which is great too. Like I said, when it comes to the humor, this movie is so much better than the first movie because the humor is just more over the top. But I found myself laughing more with Bad Boys 2 than Bad Boys 1. Okay. Now that I got all that out of the way. When it's all said and done, Bad Boys 2 for me gets a solid 8 out of 10. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of really funny humor. Like I said, it's got high octane, spectacular action sequences, though I do think there's a little too many of them and they do run a little too long. But the characters are just as fun as the first movie, and it does keep you entertained, even though I think this movie could have at least cut off a half hour of its runtime because it does run a little way too long. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Bad Boys 2, 8 out of 10. Okay, let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.